Hey, you guys. I have tried to start this again like 2 or 3 times, and I might be getting tired. I don't know what the deal is. I posted part one. The title was Why I Feared My Mother, but Not Anymore. I got into a lot of dynamics surrounding that. A lot of times it's not going to exactly match the title, but I will try to make sure it's damn close. Sometimes I will start off on one thought thinking I'm going to do a video about a certain thing and it will venture into something else. It is not because I'm trying to be cuckoo clock or sporadic or go on a tangent. It is because oftentimes I have a creative personality anyway. And a lot of times I do my videos on an energy wave. And I kind of just like to start the camera rolling and see what comes out. Almost like channeling spirit in a way. Or letting whatever needs to release itself from me and share, or whatever I feel coming from spirit to share with others. I kind of like to just let that happen. So that's why sometimes we'll get started thinking it's one thing and it'll start venturing. But I try my best to keep it, you know. But I'm not really good at, it's really hard for me to take something that comes from me on an energy wave in a more creative way and take it and confine it to, okay, I got to have a title, I got to have this bullet point, bullet point, I have to make these certain points. It's really hard for me to be like super business-like about it. um you know Now if I were a coach or a teacher, or like trying to do certain things, I guess I would need to conform more to that. But for me, this is like a release. It's therapeutic for me. It's a way for me to just kind of, yeah, it's kind of a different vibe. But um I want to make sure I kind of wrap that up. I didn't want to leave it hanging. That last video cut off, and I was, talking about some pretty deep stuff, some pretty painful stuff, and um I just want to let it be known that at this point, now there's a lot of videos in my past I made where a lot of anger came out. And I won't say that when I'm in the heat of the moment, I don't still get angry and I don't still feel sometimes even disgust when I'm being, of course, who wouldn't feel that? When there's a toxic energy with a family member or something like that. But I don't feel any hatred or, I've really just gotten to a different place, especially since this eclipse happened. I think that those of us who have been really working on those things, I think we're there. I feel very confident about that energy now. That the energies that were there, all that stuff that stalked us and mercilessly pursued us, and everywhere we looked, it was fucking ops and dark entity attachments and shit getting in our way everywhere. I feel very confident going forward about this new energy that I have come into. It's what we've been working towards. It's what we've been patiently hanging on and having faith in ourselves and the universe and our spirit guides and just everything, that we were going to come through okay. And after processing and working through all of that pain and all of that chaos and all the loss and anger and so much shit on so many of us, I'm confident in this place. And I have my reasons why getting into a place of rage or being too reactive anymore is counterproductive for me. That's them winning, okay? I wish I could have been in that energy state long years ago, before I had to go through hospitalizations and so much wear and tear on my body and my nervous system from being so angry and so reactive and so hurt. It was pulsating through my blood, my veins, my system to my heart. No, just no. And I see a lot of different crowds in the world, different people, different perspectives. That's their thing. But the thing is, and a lot of people will get pissed off at you for not being angry. A lot of people will, well, why aren't you standing up to them? And why aren't you this, that, and the other? I've even said things like that before, But the thing is that you don't know that they've already been there and done that. You're behind. If you're thinking, you see what I'm saying? Some people, you're looking at them that way, like, why aren't you raging? And if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And if you're not, I'm fucking old, okay? Use your imagination about what I was like when I was younger. And then you'll have your answer. You know what I'm saying? Okay? It's like a lot of people you might look at, and the thing is, they've already done it. They've already been the most angry motherfucker on the planet. They've already gone through their angst and their fury and outrage, and they've already spoken up, and they've already written the songs, and they've already stood in the faces, and they've already done it for years. Now it's time for a motherfucker to mellow out. Shit, we get old and shit. My back and my hip, and need to keep my heart rate calm and my blood pressure and everything. Okay, so you get my drift for the people that go on and on like that, that want to get furious with you for that. Now, let me tell you something. There's a big difference between keeping your fucking balance emotionally for health reasons and spiritual reasons, and at the same time being aware and handling shit when it needs to be handled, holding yourself or others accountable when that needs to be done. You just don't have all the out of control rage and anger and off balancing chaos and shit coming with it. You're still there with it. There's a big difference in that and being someone who is aloof, just doesn't care, flippant, doesn't ever set boundaries, try to prevent chaos from going on, checked out, allows dysfunction or even harm to take place in their midst, or people pleasing. No, there's a big difference. I said I was mellowing out. I didn't say that I'm not quick to get fierce in a motherfucker's face if they are trying to bring harm or anything like that to innocent people, or step all over boundaries or any of that shit. Okay, so that's kind of how all that goes. That's how that goes. But the whole thing with the mother, okay, I just want to make that clear. I am at an age and a place in my life, emotionally and spiritually, where I cannot take the stress of being full of rage anymore. I cannot afford to be reactive anymore, because I was so reactive and in so much pain and so much anger and so much adrenaline. I talked about this in one of my anxiety videos on this page, on my channel, that I can't take it anymore, for my own best interest. And here's the thing. Now, this may not be for everybody. There's a time in our life, everything I needed to do, I felt like it was right on time for me. The years that I was raging, that I was angry, whatever the fuck. In those years, that's when I needed to be angry. That's what I needed to be doing and clearing and making space and doing this and doing that, moving energy. Anger is a passion. It is an intense energy form that can be useful and productive. And by God, I still use it sometimes, but in a different way. Not in crippling rage where it's releasing all cortisol and adrenaline, all these fucking stress hormones, and I just can't. Um, but it doesn't mean that I'm just off in la la land somewhere or that I condone certain kinds of behaviors or any of that shit, okay? It just doesn't mean that. But I'm just at a place in my life. I feel like finally I'm settling into the new timeline because I got completely ripped off of it about a year and a half ago. I lost everything to my name, my home, my car, my partner died last year. It was very traumatic. I had to come back and stay with my mother. No choice. That's just the way the circumstances added up. And I had a lot to process and go through in that year and a half of rebuilding myself, a lot of spiritual and emotional purging and recovery, for my health and my well-being. And then this eclipse happened. And I knew, slowly but surely, I was going to get stronger and stronger. And I still went through shit. I thought I came here to recover. Completely grief-stricken after losing my fiance of 7 years. And all the chaos and turmoil that I went through with him as an alcoholic. And all of his trauma and narcissism but the beautiful love that we had for each other as well. And him getting cancer and all the family member deaths that we had in those years and just so much shit. I came here to recover. Couldn't believe that I had lost basically my entire identity, my life. But I knew deep inside I was going through the remaining parts of my process. My dark night of the soul, my spiritual ascension process that started fucking 18 years ago. It's been one process after another of growth and, coming into higher consciousness and working on different levels and sometimes going back and having to do deeper work. And, that started a long time ago for me, but I knew when I got taken down and ripped off that timeline a year and a half or so ago, it was like the apocalypse of all dark nights. That last relationship was like the apocalypse of inner child work and triggers and trauma, and it was everything. But I knew, and then having no choice but to come back here with my mother, but I knew that basically it was doing the full sweep. It was everything that needed to be purged and gotten rid of and confronted and done so I could keep coming through this process. I knew that's basically what it was about. And no, when I got here, it wasn't nice, sweet little place to sleep and mom's chicken soup and everything will be fine, honey. And don't worry, I'm so sorry that you lost your fiance. And I know that death is shocking and you're in a lot of pain and grief. And, it's okay. You'll get back to your feet. It wasn't none of that. None of that. It was horrific, chaotic. When I first got here, my brother was still living here in the floor in the living room, very addicted and very emotionally abusive to my mother, and she emotionally abusive right back. And I was in a chair with all my shit stacked up. I didn't know what the hell I was going to fucking do. I had never been through anything like that in my adult life. And eventually he had to go. He and my mother were just, it was so, and it's so sad to be caught between that. Two people that you love, but you can hardly be around. And you're used to having your own place as a grown ass woman and feeling your sibling's pain because you know how he was abused and you know how he was treated. And you know that she needs to take responsibility for it. And as a person with a severe personality disorder and very high narcissism, she doesn't talk about that part of it. She only talks about what a loser and a failure and a fuckhead and I just can't imagine how you got this way. That kind of fucking thing. So naturally, that makes me furious at her. That makes me triggered at her, of course. But at the same time, intellectually, I've had to work for years in therapy to not react, to treat her as a person who doesn't know any better, as a child, as a. But a lot of times we don't realize that because these people are walking, talking, functioning, driving cars, having careers, intellect out of this world, encyclopedias, history buffs. She's all that. My mother is very intelligent, very cultured, very knowledgeable. So many fascinating and artistic, great qualities. But as a parent, a mother, as far as being in mother energy, I've never known that. Never known that. And so imagine, yeah, being between your sibling and your mother. And I have 5 siblings, by the way. 2 of them passed away. It's a long story. The rest, But imagine, which feeling are you going to have? Like, what? It just rips you apart because you feel what your sibling feels and you feel their pain every last drop of it. You know how they got that way. You know what they're going through. But at the same time, you're furious because of how they're coping with it. And you're trying your damnedest to stay in balance. And they are in the floor puking and flopping and itching and tearing at their hair and needing another bottle and shooting up and you're furious because they're choosing to put all of their pain and trauma into that. And now it's spilling all over everybody. It's going to take everybody down and it becomes abusive. Their trauma becomes abuse all over again. They're not coping with it well at all, which who the fuck copes with trauma well? None of us. But you get what I'm saying. There are those of us who have crawled and been determined to do it a different way. Fucked up along the way a lot too, but still determined to get back up and do it a different way. That's why I said it's okay if you're struggling. That means you're trying. It's okay. It doesn't mean you're a failure. Some folks aren't struggling. They're not trying. There's different types of struggling. What I see as struggling actually has effort in it. What some people see as struggling, what it really is they've given up. They're consumed, bound. There's no struggle in them anymore. I've seen it all. I've seen all levels of it. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. And then, oh my God, when you come from a big dysfunctional ass family with all of those issues, that's just one sibling. I wouldn't even know what it would be like to get all of us in the same room anymore. It's like, okay, and then And then also not wanting my sibling, my brother, to emotionally abuse my mother either. Feeling defensive for her boundaries. And why are you doing this in her living room? Why are you talking to her that way? Why are you making false promises? You are an addict. You're not, no, no, no. You're over here every day. You're getting this, you're doing that. She's freaking out. She can't tell you no. All of this shit that I was placed in the middle of while I was devastated, vulnerable, broken, shattered, having a mental breakdown. That was the place I had to go recover. A year and a half ago is when I got here. And so naturally, I'm torn. I love my sibling, but he's been doing this for 20 something years or more. And it isn't right. No matter how much I feel his pain, no matter how much I agree with him or feel what he went through as a child because I was right beside him, no matter how angry I am at her about some of it, no matter how I feel like she should take account and speak and empathize more, still right is right. And somebody's got to stand up and put a boundary down around here. So you got to go. And mother's 80 years old. This isn't going to happen. And so that put me in a fucked up position to be angry with her again. She couldn't do it at 40. I don't care how old she is, she couldn't do it back in the day. Those boundaries. And so then of course I'm like feeling for her and genuinely wanting her to just have some peace. Not wanting her to have all this chaos and trauma and still going on at 80 years of age. But knowing I can't save her from it. A lot of people are like, well, you need to stand up and save your mother and you need to. You try it with someone who has mental illness and who in the next second goes running right back over there and she just keeps it going and can't say no. And it's just been an ongoing thing, which it's really hard to deal. If it is your own child, you have to put yourself in their shoes. And I've been there too, when it is your own son. So it's like all these fucking dynamics have been coming to a head. And I had to hold on to that and keep that knowledge and stay calm and know that all of this. But, and then I'm looking at my mother like, all of these things. And then once he was gone, the energy coming off of her from all the trauma that he put her through, all that came off on me for the entire year. Talking to herself and cursing and just traumatized and so much shit. And it got really bad. It got emotionally abusive, and that's hard to forget. Even though I am in a better place of forgiveness and love and healing, when you have a parent like that in your life, you have to remember, no matter how healed you get, no matter how you move on, no matter how you get in this great energy, and don't ever forget. And you will do it over and over and put yourself in a position with them to expect them to just handle it as a parent, a normal, loving person. And every fucking time you will be hurt, disappointed, let down, twisted up. You have to stay on guard. Like, you have to always remember, oh, I can't do that with them. Oh, no, that. And people like that are exhausting. They talk about narcissists a lot about that too, but it's a lot of different personality disorders, and people like that are exhausting. They can be so exhausting because you constantly kind of have to walk on eggshells. They have a level of immaturity, emotional immaturity under all that intellect, that it's like, oh shit, like my little dog, for instance, if I go somewhere in the car with her, she's already just shattered trying to drive, cussing people, and just all this energy that I might have had when I was 15. And if my little dog's in the car, well, if he barks at anything, she gets nervous. And I have to remember, sometimes I like to take him in the car, but if I have to run in the store for anything or leave him in the car with her, oh shit, I worry that she's not going to hurt him, but that she'll overreact, that he'll bark and she'll mistreat him. Or it's all kinds of little situations like that. It's like that with an alcoholic. It's like that with a severe addict. I went through it with my fiance. And if you've got that going on everywhere you look, well, I know he can't be left at home too long alone, or might burn the house down, or he might fall, or, well, I know I can't take him here because, well, he can't stand up, or he's going to get sick, or I can't, or, and then, well, I know if I go to mom's that well, she's like this and he's like that, and that if that is predominant in your life, people with such disorders and untreated, unresolved mental illness and traumas and fucking addictions out of control, and just being around it, you will lose your fucking mind. I mean, really, just trying to juggle all that shit. But when those are your loved ones, when it is your mother, father, brother, sister, your blood, your own child, then it's so much easier said than done. Just you try to navigate your way through it somehow, and it causes you all hell in the mind. It is a very hard thing to find balance and peace with, and you constantly got to learn about it and work on yourself and learn ways of coping and understanding, and it's a hard road. There is no just do this and like magic. No, there's none of that shit. But yeah, it will give you all those kinds of mixed feelings. Ultimately, I really want healing for everyone. That's what is in my heart and soul. But there are times that it is just that I have gotten to a point where, I don't like carrying guilt. And here's what I feel like. I feel like if I allow myself to engage anymore, and I allow her to trigger me too much, get me too angry, or take what she says personally, the hateful, cold shit she says sometimes, that they win. That dark, all-consuming, dark entity attachment shit that's always trying to pull people off their path, always trying to attack people who are working in the light, people who are working on themselves. I feel like if I entertain that it wins. that it's getting me right back in the old toxic, reactive, yeah, come on down here with us. Because we're miserable down here. We've been here for years. We don't know how to get out. Probably not going to get out. We want some company. We see you. You're a fresh light. You're strong. You're busying yourself with things. You're enjoying. You've got some kind of peace that we don't have. That's that energy that's all over them, man. And they may not be sitting up thinking that in the moment. Fuck, they're just trying to get through their fucking day too. But it's just how it is. And so I've had to get to a place where I don't react as much. And I will say, with my own mother, it's damn hard. I don't know. But it's coming full circle though, and I know that it's one of the last things in that whole first chapter of my life that needs to be faced and dealt with. And I believe that's why God brought me back here, brought me back face to face with this, because that last chapter is ending. And now we are going on into the new chapter, and it has been hell getting here. But that whole thing for me, all the family curses and cycles and all the chaos and shit and patterns that followed me through my life and choices I made and all of those things. And I feel like, in a way, had God not brought me back here, or of course my choices that led up to me having to come back here, because again, I was living with my alcoholic fiance who later got cancer and passed away, who was very traumatized, very unstable, sick, alcoholic, had lost a child, grief-stricken, lots going on. He and I had a beautiful bond, though. We were great friends, and I really, truly loved him. But he put me through a lot of hell. And I focused more on his care for years. Devotion to him, basically a nurse, full-time on call. It was very traumatic and chaotic all the time. And I focused on that more than my health, my savings, my career, my plans. So, of course, I take responsibility, my choices and consequences, how I ended up here. But at the same time, in a spiritual perspective, it all works out a certain way. How God, the universe, whatever, in a way, it was for me to recover and build myself back. And I will have to say, I've been doing that. And I've been okay. This was a landing pad. But at the same time, I had to face all hell once I got back here. But it worked in a very multi-dimensional way, and that's another thing I kind of want to share and open people up to, is all the ways that things are working for us. Where in some ways, it looks like it's working against us, and it feels like shit, and it's bad. And we're facing that and working our way through it. And in some ways, it's really, really good, and it's working to our best interest and to help us progress. Interesting. Maddening, but interesting. But the thing is, I look at it, looking back, had I not been brought here, my mother would still be sitting here with my brother right on top of her. Almost 2 years I've been here, year and a half, a little over that. And the chaos and the way that they were, literally, there's no telling what would be going on over here. And her getting up past 80 years old. And he's in a program now. And this whole entire year, even though it's been hell to get there, and it has I did not want to be exposed to that. But slowly but surely, with me living here, and I'm really quiet, I'm really calm. It took a long time to get her there, but slowly but surely, since my brother has moved on, moved out, she has been getting more calm and more calm and more calm and into her own, as she should be, her own day, her own life, instead of all this codependent, toxic crap consuming her. So, but things are still rough. Things still get shaken up, and we still go through things. But I just look at it in many different ways. Had I not been brought here, that would still be going on. That changed right after I moved in. Well, a few months after I moved in. That had to stop. And a lot of family dynamics and pain and anger and sorrow and shit had to come up to the surface. And I look at it like, okay, you know, God had his reasons, works in mysterious ways, universe, higher self, spirit guides, whatever, angels, guardians. Ideally, I would like to believe it was so that mother and daughter could heal, but I don't set myself up for that either because it's real quick to get shot down. Real quick. But being the person that I am who's always been able to heal and transmute even the worst pain and violation and betrayal, and I just feel like, how is it that I could forgive my father and not have the feelings of, I don't want to say hate, but this is hard for me, y'all. The feelings of just, oh, maybe it is something close to hate. And fear, let's bring that up again. Fear, because she's just so out of control, and so the way she doesn't connect to us emotionally is fucking shocking. And my father was violent and grossly abusive on all levels to us. But he didn't talk to us the way my mother does. He was actually nurturing. I know that's confusing, but I feel like that's part of it. My father was nurturing and affectionate and mothering to us, while at the same time extremely brutal and violent and drunk and violating in other ways. But when it came to us getting sick, or just the way he spoke to us and kind of treated us, it was just different. It was just different. And I don't know. I've been able to get past, some of the most difficult people, my own father. I can't think of anybody that just makes my skin burn when I get around them. I can't think of anybody on this earth that just really puts me on. I mean, there might have been a person or two. Yeah, okay, I can too. Yes, I can. I can think of a couple folks. But I don't waste my time on that. It's not anybody that matters to a hill of fucking beans. It's really complex when you come from a family like that. Because, you're going to have love in your heart. Ultimately, I do. And And I'm still working through it. I'm still trying to kind of in the process of figuring out what direction Spirit wants me to take. You know, I know logically why I'm here going through this because I fucking lost everything. And I'm not in a position to get it back right this minute. I just was able to get a scooter so that I could get around even a little bit to work and back. I'm still saving for a car. I'm still saving for a place. So I know why I'm here in that regard because I can't do anything else right now, or I would have my own safe space. But I'm still in the midst of, learning what is supposed to be the outcome of this emotionally and spiritually. Because there for a long time, the only way for me to avoid the chaos and the flipping and twisting and either incessant talking on a surface level and just having to listen, or it being really angry and combative, or hearing her going off and talking to her. In order to avoid, I would just have to come straight in and go straight to the nothing. No, I don't talk. And just literally put earbuds on and hide. It was that bad for so long. And because I was that fragile and vulnerable and broken and needing some kind of peace and positive energy to start recovering. It was so hard to get there. But then I eventually started getting stronger. Do a lot of work. And in some senses, you don't ever forget that. You don't ever forget how you were treated at a time like that. Who was gentle with you? Who was loving, encouraging, gave you some hope, and who wasn't? So I'm kind of still in the midst of, it is what it is. I accept it for what it is. I don't expect anything different, but how I am to proceed. Sometimes it really feels like I've grown to a point of, okay, these are just people. All that teachings from way back, whatever, well, you gotta respect your family no matter what. Blood is blood. And no, you don't. No, you fucking don't. Not if they're abusive and traumatic to you and very toxic people. You don't have to feel anything at all. And you don't have to feel guilty about it either. Just a portal you came through. And that was it. Wish them well. And that's, a lot of days that's how I feel about it. Don't have to do shit. But for me personally, we do have a bit more of a connection than that. And ultimately, I kind of feel like I'm not supposed to push, like, be too attached to an expectation of, I'm going to heal you. I'm just going to keep pushing it. I'm just going to keep loving, and you're going to give me love, and we're going to be mother and daughter. I just know it. And keep doing things with the expectation of her to become that. No, I don't do things for her for that reason. But I've always been that way, doing thoughtful things, cooking, and this is for you. I used to do it a lot more often when I had my own place because I wasn't right up under all this energy all the time and feeling. So I'm just trying to figure out, ultimately I do think it's about healing for both of us in different ways, even though a lot of days it don't feel like it. I think that progress is definitely being made. But with me having an anxiety disorder and all the things that I've gone through, it's it is the most insane thing, the two of our energies in one little place like this, because I had such a big energy, so full of life and expression and just a totally different way of coping with things and running my household and the way I related to my children. And, we're just so different. And but I do, no matter how angry I get at the shit they do, I pray for my family every day. I pray for their souls. I pray for their peace of mind and peace in their heart. And I don't really know, other than me staying here temporarily to get back on my feet and go on with my life. I don't really know what the outcome is supposed to be emotionally and spiritually for my mother and me. And as I said, I'm not going to be too attached to any one specific outcome because that can be a setup. But at the same time, I don't want to carry a lot of grief, guilt, and, you know, knowing that I was cold and reactive and didn't try to spend any time, or so I'm just trying to kind of find that balance. And it's so weird. It's so hard to stay on good terms sometimes with, sometimes you have to face that it is certain people in your life, no matter how much you want to be close, that it is better for the health of the relationship if you keep your distance. And that requires maturity. In your love and romantic life, sometimes it's like that too. In your parents, in your siblings, in your family relationships, sometimes it's like that. In some friendships, that it is best and healthiest for the parties involved to make sure they have good boundaries and distance between them. And I know that sucks, and a lot of times we'll know that, but we will keep on hanging and clinging and too close. And so, I don't know. At this point, I'm just really trying to focus on here, getting me together, and letting her do, whatever. And yeah, it's a natural thing as your parents age to want to look after them or look in on them, and I do. But you also have to understand, you know, not everybody comes from the same family dynamics, and sometimes it just makes me want to run as far away as possible. And it's so maddening and so hurtful that I just feel like going, you know what? And just like, once I do get, just let her sit in the chaos that she would not fight to change, that she would not put the effort in. Sometimes, yeah, I guess sometimes I get resentful that I put way more effort in to changing myself and learning about myself and boundaries and working on things. But at the same time, I don't have a personality disorder. So I have to try to imagine what that's like for her and how, in her mind, she may feel like she did try her hardest for the level she's on. See, that's a lot to understand. That's what deeper empathy will do to you. You'll just automatically know what they're feeling. You just feel everything powerfully. But it can get you in trouble too. It sucks sometimes really bad. But I do feel that for my mom. That, when things start getting too ugly and too hurtful, I just, I don't like that. And I can see it, in her eyes. And my brother and I talked about this. He's like, really? It's so confusing to us the way that, she doesn't show emotion except anger all the time. Or this surface banter. And I can see it though. I can see pain in her eyes and I can see confusion. Sometimes, like, she really doesn't know what she should have said or what she did wrong. And I can see certain things. And it does make me feel sad. It makes me feel, you know, and it's really hard to work through all that shit on top of all the trauma you went through and having to feel every one of your family members' feelings and emotions, and it's hell, you know? But ultimately, I don't like to get sucked into weird, chaotic, immature little playground fights with someone. Especially, and they will suck you in so fast. And it'll go on all day before they will just take accountability. You take accountability, put the cards on the table, and get real. What the real problem is and find real solutions. No, 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 no. That's not happening. You will be gaslit, strung up, twisted around if you dare try to hold them accountable for anything. You're a joke. Everything about you's a joke. They take it to places so below the fucking belt and so fucking immature that even the highest of spiritual people, even no matter how hard you're trying, you are simply telling them the truth about what they're not willing to see and change, and you're setting a boundary that just isn't in their orbit. And they go to all they know to do, which is attack, and treat that as a hostile situation. Start going below the belt. And narcissistic abuse wraps around you like an octopus. Pow, 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 before you even can. That's how defensive they are. And you can easily get sucked into that lower toxic side real quick. And then before you know it, your whole day is ruined. And they're not going to think twice about it. That's normal, and they're used to it, and they need somebody to keep them company. And if it's not you, they'll move on to the next sibling or phone call or person that they whatever. But at the same time, she does have feelings. I know that. And she shows love to my siblings and I in the best way that she can for the level she's on. And I know that's hard to explain, it's hard to interpret, it's hard to live with. Like, I don't know, stuff like, well, she don't really like to cook, but I'm gonna make some cabbage today. I guess I'll see if your brother wants some. And going over there where he's at, where he was, which was living in his truck for a while. And, you know, those kind of things. Trying to be helpful. She's done a lot. She has done a lot as far as giving rides and giving money and giving. Too much in that regard. And that's why I tried to cut that off for me years ago. And that created resentment because they just kept taking, not getting any better from all that giving. When really, I'm looking at it like, you need to cut off the purse strings, cut off the giving, and give more of this energy. Give your love, give your encouragement, give your guidance, and give some fucking boundaries at the same time. And cut everything else off. Because all that's just martyring yourself worse, victimizing yourself, and creating anger and resentment within you. But you can't stop doing it. That was like kind of her way of showing love. It's not being able to say no. And I see all of these things. I've done them all myself. It's how I ended up getting booked up. All of these patterns have come to an explosive hit where they are all blown out into the universe now in little dust particles. And it's a whole new chapter, frequency, life path we're going into since this eclipse. Huh?
Shoes, and I'll put them inside the door. Your shoes.
Okay. So, I don't know. I didn't say everything clearly. It would take me forever to explain how much I truly feel about this and all the dynamics and ins and outs but I hope I've explained it a little bit more. And I have an anxiety disorder, so that keeps me fearful, but for the most part, I manage it, and I take other healthy measures and positive measures to keep lower vibrational energies off of me, because all that shit, fear, doubt, constant worry, all that shit, insecurity, jealousy, envy, fucking too much rage, depression, all that shit, it just keeps you down. It keeps you in an energy. Fear is a blocker, is a fucking no-no. And we all have some, but I don't like to stay in any of that shit, any of those energies for too long. Because they just distract me from my path. They're unhealthy for me. And yeah, I started thinking about that today. The fear that I have surrounding, my family and what they are and how I've been that way in the past. Actually fearing the people I loved, even my partner. And he would say, "You ain't got nothing to be scared of. I don't hit you. What do you mean you're afraid? What do you mean you're afraid, dude? Yeah, I'll be like, you don't get it, do you? It is terrifying when people are out of control. When you you energetically can feel that other energy on them, that it's not them, that they are in and out of their body and mind, and it is fucking terrifying to be around somebody drunk all day. You can't do shit. You have to be a babysitter. You can't live your life. You're always on eggshells, shaking and propping them up and being their crutch and scared to leave the house, scared to go to work, worried about your pets, worried about what's going on at home. That's just the addict. Same thing for people with mental illness and disorders, people that don't set boundaries, people that just let whatever the fuck ever walk on in the house and have its way. People that let toxic people rule the roost and don't put their fucking foot down about it and protect everybody else, the innocent people. I don't like that shit. And for a while, yes, with all I was going through and being in such a vulnerable, helpless position at that time in my life, I never wanted to let myself get there. There was a lot of fear. Oh, yeah, terror at what was going to happen to me and what I'm surrounded by. And, well, if I do start getting on a good path and doing pretty well, this isn't my house, it's hers. And who's she going to let walk in here and do what? And what's her energy going to be like? And it's going to fucking leak over onto me and destroy before I am just strong enough to handle things. You know, it sucks to get in that fragile of an energy and not have anywhere to turn that feels safe. That will piss you off at yourself and at everybody else. And the terror and the fear and all that, I had to come through all that last year and pretty much adjust to where I'm at, to what I had to accept what happened to me and all of the loss, grieve the death of my partner, the loss of my home, my car, my boys are grown. I lost all of my things in storage, everything, all their baby stuff, everything that meant anything to me, and had to, you know, complete wipeout. But at the same time, I've had to look at it like that was my dark night. That was my spiritual ascension process, part of it. That is what God wanted me to focus on in the moment. There is something more for me. And I was putting too much of myself into the old identity as mother, mother to my alcoholic partner, basically, Mother Earth, Mother Goddess, mother, 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 everybody. Rescue, rescue, save, save. I was being torn limb from limb. But I enjoyed being that person. I enjoyed cooking and serving and keeping my home, and I had a lot of goals and dreams and just loved life, and it really got torn apart. And so clearly there was something I needed to focus on, just for me. And if you don't do it and you don't listen, when you're supposed to, it will eventually make you do it. And that's kind of what happened to me. So I'm going to leave this one here because it's gotten really long. And if I can think of anything else to add to this, I'll make a part 3. Maybe build onto it by going back and talking about what I started on the channel a couple weeks ago. I was talking about healed mother energy versus unhealed, which clearly my mom still has a lot of unhealed energy. And I know that. And we can be on different levels of healing. We can have a lot of things in us that are really healed, and some stragglers that aren't, things that aren't. But some people are walking around in predominantly unhealed energy, and how they live and how they act and how they think and how they operate